Welcome to another episode of Viatorian Voices, where our conversations on the way give witness to the ministry and spirituality of walking with youth and those who go underserved. In this episode, we explore God's invitations to pastoral ministry and Viatorian association with Associate Karen Cutler. Karen is from Springfield, Illinois, and her brothers went to a Viatorian high school for boys there. As she studied communications for her bachelor's degree, Karen also got involved with tech retreats and collaborated with Viatorians on those teams. Karen gradually discerned a call to ministry, earning a master's in pastoral studies and becoming a youth and campus minister. In 2003, Karen made her initial commitment as one of the first few groups of lay associates in the United States, and she has been a Viatorian for over 20 years and counting, having now made her definitive commitment. She currently works as coordinator of special programs and events for the province, and many youth and young adults will know Karen from her tireless and faithful work for the Viatorian Youth Congress. I'm your host, Associate Dan Masterton. After you enjoy this episode, help us tell the Viatorian story by rating our podcast in your favorite app, sending this episode link to a friend, and praying for and encouraging young men considering Viatorian religious life. We started this conversation by asking Karen to share how she first encountered the Viatorians back in Springfield, Illinois, and began her relationship with our community. Enjoy!
I first encountered, if that's the word you want to use,
Sure.
a Viatorian or Viatorians just by hearing about them. There were 3 Catholic schools in Springfield, 2 girls' schools, 1 boys' school. My brothers went to the boys' school, Griffin High School, which is where the Viatorians served. And so I heard names and, they're a Viatorian. And I knew that Viatorians meant that they were in a religious order. But that was kind of just really the surfacey, kind of first introduction to them. And so names like Father Bob Erickson, he was one of the principals, and Wayne Dupuy. But my first real encounter with a Viatorian was Father Hugh Robbins, which everybody kind of laughs at me when I say that, but he was the drama teacher my freshman year at Ursuline Academy, where I went, which, and I didn't take drama that year, but like in our first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of school, we went to like every class that was available to a freshman so we could kind of get like a smattering or whatever. And so I remember sitting there listening to him talk about, and he was really like over the top. He just was like unlike any other priest I'd ever met. So that was really the first introduction or whatever to the Viatorians. Actual working with them in any kind of way was I got involved in a program, and it was after I graduated high school. I was in junior college and stuff, and I got involved with a program called TEC, Teens Encounter Christ. It was a retreat program that a lot of dioceses across the country did, but they happened to do it in the Diocese of Springfield. And that's where I, got involved going on the retreats, and then it ended up helping out as they called them resources, but like small group leaders. Yeah. And I loved the program. It was really good. It was teens from all over the Diocese of Springfield. But I met, and I always tease and say, I knew Rob Robertson when he was Mr. Rob.
Yeah.
Because he was at Griffin High School at the time and had been involved in tech. And so I got to know him there. But then later, Father Tom Von Baron, was active in tech, and Mick Egan, Corey, Father Corey Bros, so a lot of different Viatorians connected into that program. So I got to know a lot of them that way, and then stayed connected to them. I mean, it was something clicked, we became friends. And
so would you connect some of the roots of you getting involved in pastoral ministry and going on to study it a bit to this tech group or to other things that Viatorians were involved in at that time? Where do you kind of trace the roots of your interest in becoming a ministry leader in all this?
It absolutely was tech and my connection to the Viatorians, because it was actually Father Tom Von Baron, and he was up here in Chicagoland area. He was vocation director and stuff, but he would come and do the retreat because he's from Springfield. He'd come do the retreats, and one of the times that he came into town, we got together to go just to have dinner. because, he would always check in, And we were sitting at dinner one night, and he goes, when are you going to, because I was working at a radio station at the time, when are you going to get out of that radio station and start working, in ministry? And I was like, excuse me? I feel like, now I know the word ministry, and I really was doing that with tech. I had stayed involved and on many, many, many of the retreats and stuff. So I just thought it was funny. But it was that was the inception of me thinking about, well, could I really do this? And then I had the conversation with him. How would I do this? I don't feel like I'm trained. I don't think I enjoy working with teens, but nobody's going to hire me just because I enjoy working with teens. What can I do?
Yeah, what's the path?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because I had a bachelor's degree, everything. He told me about Loyola University up here, Institute of Pastoral Studies, where they did lots of ministry courses, for a lot of different interests of youth ministry. Obviously, campus ministry was one of them. And he was like, well, I can get you information. I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I'll do the connect, and everything. So I just started asking around and, talking to people and saying, what would this look like? And because youth ministry really wasn't as prevalent in parishes as it is now.
Yeah, not quite as professional at that time.
I was going to say every parish has some kind of person who works with youth these days.
Yeah.
In, whether it's volunteer or in some capacity. And then there just wasn't a lot, but I did know a few people, and so I just started asking questions. And then I applied to Loyola, and I went through their program and took some of the best classes I've ever had in my life. Challenged me, obviously, but really made me think about, like the background of what I was doing and enjoying through tech and stuff, but what that meant. And it just was like wildfire.
Yeah, it took off.
And then it was like I wanted to read everything, because I'm a reader. I read for enjoyment, but like I read everything. Somebody will say, you should read this book. It's really good by whoever. Kim's a good one. Kim Martinez is a good one for that. She'll say, oh, I took this class and this book was really good. You should read it. So, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm always taking recommend. But if somebody suggests an article they read or, I'm always checking stuff out too. So I just read everything. And so I felt like I was really prepared for that.
So you thrive in ministry and theology school.
Yeah, I really loved it. While I was working or going through Loyola, and I told you Tom Von Baron was the vocation director, he asked me if I would be willing to work, part-time for him in the office doing basically kind of secretarial type stuff, data entry stuff, and all that. So I worked for him and able to have the money while I was, going to school and stuff. So then he had got transferred out to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's my next question.
Yeah, he had got transferred out to Las Vegas. And I ended up getting a job in the Diocese of Springfield in southern Illinois in a parish in Highland. But I worked as a youth minister and, did confirmation prep and then all the activity stuff you do with, with teens in a parish and stuff. And then I worked there 2 years and then went to a parish in Bloomington, Illinois, which is Peoria Diocese, and worked at a parish that was actually the pinnacle of my parish work. I love the pastor, Father Jerry Ward, and just the I have more friends today still from that parish.
Wow.
Both the kids that are now adults having kids, but also but their parents. It was such a good experience. The parents wanted to be involved in helping in the youth ministry of the kids, which is the ideal situation. Mm-hmm. Highland was a different experience for me. It could be rough, hard getting the parents to be part of that. But in Bloomington, it was like, oh my God, you're in an ideal situation. So,
but then somehow in the midst of this, the Viatorian pathway kind of pulls you out to Las Vegas.
Exactly. Father Tom, he went out there and had been there a year, and his idea or whatever was that they really needed a campus ministry program. They had like religion teachers that would help when they would do a liturgy during the month, or would, take kids to a service thing or whatever. But that was nobody's real job. I mean, they were teaching theology courses.
They didn't have like a true dedicated campus ministry yet.
Didn't. And so Tom and so he invited me and brother Corey at the time, Corey Roast at the time, to come out and start campus ministry at Bishop Foreman. And so that's what we did. And, we did Kairos and Quest and, started service programs through like Catholic Charities there, and obviously the liturgies. And we had, groups of kids that were part of committees, so it was really student driven. I mean, we introduced a lot of things that but the kids just globbed on to stuff. They wanted to be so much a part of all of that stuff. And again, another great experience that I still am friends with a lot of kids who are now adults having kids, and stuff. And so it was such a great experience for me. And again, I learned a lot from Corey in that time, because he had done a lot more ministry stuff than I had done at that point. And I tell him all the time, and he'll, wave it away. But I really did learn a lot, especially in the social justice aspect. I mean, I had done retreats a lot, so I felt like that really was, my niche was was retreats. I was really good at that. But Corey was only there 4 years with me. I was there a total of 8. He was only there for the first 4, and then I worked with a lay man after that. But it was I really enjoyed doing that. And of course, during that time, Michael Gosh worked out there, and other.
Yeah, and this is while the Viatorians are still administering the school, so right. You're working with a rotating cast of characters.
Yeah, all of those. And then I also, just in like my personal life, I joined St. Viator Parish when I was out there, so I got to know another group of Viatorians through the parish, because I got involved in that for my own personal growth. And
so the other interesting thing at this time is that in the mid-late 90s, the congregation is exploring association and getting this lay pathway established and bringing it to the province of Chicago. And so all of you as lay people working with the priests and brothers, I'm sure are kind of starting to hear about it in little bits, or maybe get little things shared. And then we're on to the 25-year mark now of the first associates here in Kankakee, Bourbonnais, Illinois. But what do you remember hearing about, or what did you notice when you would talk with the brothers or priests? Like, what were kind of the roots of that starting to come to be as you were seeing it from a distance?
Well, the funny thing was, when I was in Vegas, and I don't know which persons were the starter of it, but, again, all the people that were out there, they gathered us in what was called Partners in Mission, and we met with, I don't think it was monthly, but we met periodically and spoke about, like church-related, Viatorian-related, so I kind of look at that as kind of an early introduction before, and maybe that was the province at the time putting feelers out to what would associate, because, I know that they were talking about it like globally, so maybe that was the initial like impetus to, find it if people were interested or whatever. So, and I was, because, again, those people, Corey and Rob and Tom, and those had all become friends, in addition to being those priests and brothers that, so it just was real easy to talk to them and ask them questions, and what would this mean, and what would it look like, and, and all that. It wasn't until I moved back here to Illinois, and I did that in 2002, and that was when they were just starting to get, they had the initial ones in 1999, but
right.
They were just really starting to, I think, ask more people or invite more people to do
and
that.
You guys were really just guinea pigs.
Yeah.
They weren't totally sure what it would be like, and you kind of took the plunge.
Well, and that was the thing when I laugh now, because when I first became an associate, I think we met, I don't think we met monthly. I think we met maybe quarterly, so maybe 4 times a year or something. And then we made our first commitment as associates. Now, and I know you know this because,
Yeah.
you do a 2-year,
Yeah.
which I just think would have been so beneficial.
Yeah.
That, but then I think they were trying things out to what should you know, what would you want to know, those kind of things. So I feel like we just scratched the surface where now you guys get almost a class in what it means to be a Viatorian associate.
Yeah, it's been built out really well over time, and hopefully we'll continue to serve the new classes better and better. But what do you remember from, maybe the first years while this was still being figured out a bit, and as you made your additional commitments, and now, almost 21 years later, you're definitively committed and you've been at this a while. Like, how have you seen it change over time, or what have you noticed it kind of doing for you within yourself?
Well, the biggest thing I've seen is the preparation. We had very little. It almost started, it feels like, if you were a friend of a Viatorian, where now it's, you come in because you know somebody, a Viatorian, and that could be a Viatorian associate too, not just, you could be invited by an associate to come in. So that is a huge difference, in just preparation for it. But like personally for me, I feel like in my faith and in my role as an associate that I've become more disciplined in what it means to develop my faith, but also then to share it and just to like keep moving it forward. It's not like, okay, well, I made my definitive commitment, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, it challenges you to look at, well, everything. I feel like my prayer life, I'm more disciplined in it. Well, I told you already that I read a lot. So, I read voraciously everything that comes my way, just again to enrich myself, but also to stay like current with what's going on in the church and what's changing, kind of just have made it more of a concerted effort to do all those things, to pray more, to read, more spiritual things, to travel through Advent and just to keep myself in those liturgical seasons of the year to focus myself on, those kind of things. I just think through our regions and our province offer Advent prayer services or Lenten things or Lighter Day or, whatever to help you in that way, in addition to your own, in your parish, in your home life. And for me, because I'm single, my prayer life has really developed because I don't have to worry about anybody else in my house. It's just me. I can do that when it fits me or when I need it, and stuff. Because I know, like, somebody like you who has children, and it's probably hard to
it can get dicey,
get yourself a little, corner where you can, take that time away. You probably have to really, and I just can, plop down and light a candle, or, me, it's candles and music help to center me to that. So, but anyway.
Well, so if we look at the ministry that kind of follows from this spirituality you've developed and found with the Viatorians, I think a lot of people would associate you and all of the things you've given to the Viatorians with the Viatorian Youth Congress, especially younger, teens and young adults who have been with you through these youth congresses the last 15 years. Just, I wonder if you would offer like a reflection on like, why do you think the Youth Congress has been such an impactful thing, and why do you think it is so attractive to young people in our parishes and schools as a place to come and be together with Viatorians and other youth and deepen their faith?
The teenage years are the most searching years.
Yeah.
That and early young adult. You're really, I think, at that point, starting to say yes or no, depending on whether it's an issue or the way you celebrate or whatever. You're starting to own it, more so than when you're young, in middle school and stuff. You really follow along with whatever your parents are doing because you're young. And that's my favorite group to work with is those high school and young adult, because I always say they're kind of like on the threshold of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everything is out there. And it's like, it's the perfect time to help them. Not that you're deciding for them, but giving them options of ways they can celebrate their faith or their spirituality or whatever. And they're in that age, they're open to that because they are searching. And I think the Youth Congress, because we again deal with liturgy and community and social justice and prayer, that it's the perfect time to give them like smatterings of all of that. That lets them say, oh, I really like to say, no, I'm not really into whatever the other type of prayer, Oh, I really like thinking about going to help the homeless or, immigrants or whatever. We give them, I think, an overview of a lot of different things that they can try out. And maybe they haven't had a chance in their parish, because, again, in parishes it's harder because there's a lot more, and it's harder. So on something like VYC, the Youth Congress, they can take an opportunity to try out, a Tizé prayer or a meditative prayer or something that maybe isn't necessarily offered in their parish, and not because their parish wouldn't offer it, it's just because there's so, you can only do so much. And so I think that is one of the things that has been really good about VYC, allowing the young people to come and help maybe figure out a little bit about what they want. But I also think it's just a great opportunity, especially in the community aspect, for them to connect with kids, other young adults or young people who are in a Viatorian parish, who are probably hearing some of the same Viatorian thing, Father Curbs, Saint Viator, charism, all those different things that connect us as Viatorians, and they're able to come together with young people who are also hearing that, because they get plenty of time on the VYC also, and this, to just kind of, talk with each other, have a conversation, hang out, play, but also then do liturgy, and it's not a place where they're going to be judged for doing that. I mean, they're being brought together to do prayer and service and, and everything. So I think that's the other thing. Sometimes it can be scary to try to do it in the parish because, well, what will so-and-so think, or what will,
Yeah, to save space, right?
Yeah. So I think that those are the things that have kept it going, and will continue to keep going. And the VYC looks different today than it did, 15 years ago when we did the first one. But the main theme, along the way hasn't really changed, just the way we've done it, kind of thing. So I think that that's the other thing. It's stayed consistent in message, maybe is the, we've just found different ways to do it along the way. So it's changed, over the years, but not drastically. Look at the signs of the times, and we've done that, I think, and tried to, shift things when we needed to. I love the VYC. It's one of the best things I think the Viatorians do. It touches all our institutions, across the U.S. and Columbia sometimes, because we've had groups come from our place in Columbia too. So
I like it because the professed men have, the council and the chapter, but then they have a retreat for themselves. And then we have an assembly for all the professed and associates. But this is a special thing that's similar but distinct for our young people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many religious congregations take the time and attention to do something like that. And I like that we do.
Yeah,
and it's a special gift that hopefully we give the church and these young people in their lives. So kind of one last question. What brings you, personally, what brings you joy for the future of the Viatorians, the future of the church? And I always like to ask fellow Viatorians, If a young person were thinking about becoming an associate or exploring religious life as a brother or priest, what would you say to encourage them or help them, think about it in a faithful way?
Well, one of the things that drew me to the Viatorians, as a woman, and I realized I will never be a vowed Viatorian.
Yeah, right.
Though I am a committed Viatorian because
Exactly.
I made that commitment as an associate. But one of the things that drew me to them, I mean, in addition to just the people that I knew, was that I believe that the Viatorians are forward thinking. They, first of all, as a woman, I've never felt shunned in any way. I've been encouraged to be a part of everything that I can be. I realize some things are congregational and, we can't do that. But community wise, I've been encouraged and have done. I've been a part of committees and, all sorts of things that have helped to move the Viatorians, forward. So I think that's the one thing, that they're a forward thinking community. They're not, we've always done it this way. We need to, it needs to stay here, whatever. They're always looking forward. So I think that, and I think they are inclusive in, for women, for anybody who's interested. As far as the hopes for the Viatorians or the church going forward, I do, people say, well, they have all these lay associates, they'll be all right. I pray all the time for vocations. I think I think we need, strong men to commit to be priests and brothers, and then for us as lay people to fill in where we can help. So I think it's important. I guess what I would say is that the Viatorians are a welcoming group, a forward-thinking group, and a group that will help to bring the best out. I mean, I really do think that, I feel like I've been at my best when I've been helping with things, with the Viatorian. So for someone who might be considering becoming a Viatorian, well, associate too, but a religious, a priest or a brother, I just think that it's a place to really find your place in the world and in this community in ways to help bring the Word of God, the life of Jesus alive.
That's all for this episode of Viatorian Voices. We'd like to thank Karen and pray for her and her dedicated faithful ministry, especially in support of our young people. Viatorian Voices Conversations on the Way is a production of Viatorian Vocation Ministry. The Viatorians are professed brothers and priests, together with women and men lay associates, who proclaim Jesus Christ and his gospel and raise communities where faith is lived, deepened, and celebrated. In the footsteps of Venerable Louis Querbes and under the patronage of St. Viator, we strive to do everything well, so that through us Jesus may be adored and loved. This includes the Viatorian Youth Congress. VYC is a summer youth retreat for Catholic Viatorian faith and leadership formation. Built on the Viatorian pillars of Eucharist, prayer, and service, teens from across the province gather with young adult leaders to live, deepen, and celebrate their faith together. Dates, location, and full details for VYC 2025 will be released this winter, and prospective delegation leaders will receive their full information by early in the new year. If you're interested in attending as a teen delegate, check in with your campus or youth minister. And if you're interested in serving as a young adult leader, you're encouraged to email vocations@viatorians.com to express your initial interest. Full information will be posted as it becomes available at viatorians.com/VYC. There you can also find links to podcast episodes featuring VYC and additional information from other media. To learn more about our community, visit Viatorians.com or follow us on social media at ViatorianUSA. Young adults seeking to connect with faith-filled peers can request to follow at ViatorianYA on the Way on Instagram, where our young adult community is building new pathways for walking together in faith. Those seeking support and accompaniment in exploring God's invitations for them are invited to reach out to Vocation Ministry. Send us a DM on social media or email us to start a conversation. Remember, you can help us tell the Viatorian story by rating our podcast in your favorite app, sending this episode link to a friend, and praying for and encouraging young men considering Viatorian religious life. On behalf of Brother Peter and the Viatorian community, I'm Associate Dan Masterton. Venerable Louis Curbs, inspire us. St. Viator, pray for us. Adored and loved be Jesus.